All right, so cool. What's the deal, everybody? It's, of course, your boy Volandis, back with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about getting cinematic lighting using only natural light, which is the sun. Disclaimer though, I am not a professional lighter, nor am I the light guy. I just do things that I personally want to see and what works for me in my videos and photos. I use natural light for probably 99% of the things that I put out on YouTube. And honestly, that's just because I never had a light or bought one or thought I needed one or whatever reason. I just been doing what works for me, and I've been doing the things that I personally want to see in my photos and my videos. And I think whether you're using natural light or a source light, these tips are going to be hand in hand, and you can use them regardless of the light source that you're using. But I think it's cool to work with natural light. And I'm also a big believer in people just doing things. A lot of the times we get caught up in making things perfect and not doing things because we don't have the right equipment. But I'm a big believer in just going out and doing things regardless of the equipment you have. I think it's fun, and I think you can create cool things. And a lot of the times we're just focused on making things perfect instead of just making them. So I like to just go out and make things regardless of what I have with me. And not having lights is definitely not a reason somebody shouldn't be going out to make videos, because you always have a light no matter what, which is the sun. Now, with that being said, everything that I say in this video is just my opinion, and again, personal things that I do for my work. They're not to be taken as law. I'm not saying you have to do these things, because you can do whatever you want. And at the end of the day, it's not perfect, but who cares? All right, so now cinematic lighting. It can be subjective. Anything can be cinematic if you want it to be. I mean, take Wes Anderson and David Fincher, for example. Wes Anderson has a kind of pastel-y, flat, colorful palette to his images, where David Fincher's images are a little bit more grungy, dark, and just punchier. And they're both great filmmakers, and they both make cinematic movies and films and things that we enjoy. A cinematic image to me is just something that's dynamic, interesting, and almost feels like, I don't know, 3D-ish in a way. All right, so first thing that I try to do within my images and videos is making a cinematic triangle. A cinematic triangle is your light source, your subject, and your camera, and how you place them. Usually I try my best to make this cinematic triangle whenever I go out and shoot. When making the triangle, I usually try to put my subject in between the light source and the camera and position them in a way to where it makes a triangle, if that makes sense. To me, this is something that I found makes the most dynamic image to me, especially when using just natural light. I try to do the triangle thing a little bit more often than not, because you can't manipulate the sun. You can't move it. You can't put it wherever you want it to go. But what you can manipulate and what you can control are the things around you. You can control camera angle, you can control yourself, and you can control the things within your image most of the time. So I think it's super important to take a little bit extra time coming up with compositions and placing yourself or your subject or whatever the case may be in your environment in a way that feels cinematic, which is in between your camera and the light source. To me, for example, this image right now, the light is coming through this window, the camera is right here, and then I am right here, which means it makes a triangle. Now, granted, it's not going to be a perfect triangle every single time, just as long as the 3 points can meet up in a triangular fashion, I guess. The next tip is FDB, which is flagging, diffusing, and bouncing. Flagging, diffusing, and bouncing helps manipulate that light source just a little bit more, and you can make it work and get the lighting that you want. So if you don't have one of these, I think everybody knows what this is. I bought this in like 2013, and I haven't used it up until like this year. I'm not lying, not joking. I can't even believe I still have this, but it has a bouncer, so you can bounce light onto someone's face or onto something or onto whatever you're trying to light. And it also has a flag. It also, if you zip this off, I'm not gonna take it all the way off, but if you take it off, it also has a gold reflector for, you know, warmer light. And then it has a diffuser. You could also just use black sheets for a flag or white sheets for a diffuser. I use this thing all the time, especially if I'm trying to like make dramatic shadows. I would use the flag, or if I'm trying to, I use this all the time though, especially if I'm trying to diffuse light a little bit more. If I'm trying to flag light a lot, I would use this. I made a video for an example for this video, because the light that comes through this window, I have a white wall right here, and it bounces off this wall and it hits me, and sometimes I don't like that because I'm trying to make and create like a dark shadow. So sometimes I'll use this bounce, and honestly, like I said, you can use anything that's black. I put my hoodie, taped my hoodie up to the wall, and just use that as a flag to stop the light from spilling onto my face. Also, the video that I made with Morgan sitting on the toilet, there's a lot of white in my bathroom. Like, everything's white, the floors, the walls, the counters, cabinets, everything's white. So when the light comes in there, it's pretty good light. Like, it's good light all day because everything's white. It's bouncing off everything. It's going everywhere. When I'm trying to make a video and I'm trying to create dynamic images, which I think, to me, a dynamic image is just the shadows and the light parts of your image and how they look and how they feel within that image. So when I was trying to create a more dynamic image, I used the flag because I was trying to create a hard shadow on his face because everything kind of felt just flat and not dynamic. So a lot of times when I'm trying to create that more like kind of cinematic look, I'll use the diffuser, or I'll use the bounce, or the flag, especially the flag. I use that all the time because I love shadows and I'm always trying to create interesting shadows. So I use that a lot, and I think it's important to use that, especially when working with natural light, because then you can manipulate the light a little bit more. Another thing that I do is try to shoot from the shadow side of people's faces, or if I'm going to shoot straight on, I make sure there's some form of a shadow on someone's face, especially when using natural light, because everything already looks kind of flat and boring anyway. I know you guys probably heard this in filmmaking a lot, especially if you watch filmmaking videos on YouTube. They always say to shoot from the shadow side of someone's face. They're not lying. That is a real thing. You should definitely do that because I feel like it adds more depth to an image. It kind of brings out whatever. I'm always talking as if you're shooting people, or if you're, you know, photographing people. So anyway, if you're taking photos of someone from the shadow side of their face, it kind of brings out more character in their face. It kind of makes the image look and feel a little bit more dynamic. But anyway, yeah, final thing is using practicals. Creating a dynamic image with just the sun is hard. As you can see, I've lost a lot of my sun because it's cloudy outside, so not a lot of light is coming through this window anymore. So there's a lot of things that I do to go against that. Like, one thing that I do is I always try to make sure there's a light on in the background, or there's some form of, I don't know, candle going, just anything to make the image feel a little bit more dynamic and just to make me pop out from the background outside of using a low aperture. Standing out from your background makes it feel a little bit more 3D-ish, like I said earlier, and just gives it a little bit more contrast and depth to the image. A lot of the times I'll throw on practicals or just my lamp or something like that, even if it's not creating a source on me, because like I said, this is just about natural lighting. I don't use these lights in the background to light me or to light anything. It's just literally to separate me from the background. I do think using practical lights, even in the real world, if you're in a bar or if you're outside of store or just anywhere, using practical lights and using the practical lights to your advantage is always going to be an advantage, because it can make your image feel that much more cinematic, which I love. And I love using practical lights like in the background. It's very subtle. I don't like to blast in your face that I'm using it to make an image, but I do a lot. Now, like I said, all of these things are just things that I do, and the first things that come to my mind when I'm trying to light an image or a video using just the sun. Anyway, are these things perfect? No, they're not, but I have fun doing them. I've also learned a lot of things from just working with the sun and not using lights. I've also just learned a lot of things from working with the natural light that I don't think I would have learned as quick as working with source lighting. I'm actually learning a bunch of things now and working with lights a lot more now, which is fun, and I can't wait to, you know, do that a little bit more, because it is important. I think it's important to both use natural light and source lights because they're both important. In some of the bigger movies like No Country for Old Men, they used only natural light, and some of the techniques that I mentioned in this video today to light some of the scenes in that movie. But anyway, yeah, filmmaking is cool. Just going out and getting outside and trying something, or going around your house and trying something, finding shadows and finding light and finding things within your home and manipulating the things within your home or outside can be fun. And the more fun that you're having, the less pressure you have on yourself to create something that's perfect, and the more fun that you're having, the less pressure you have on yourself to create something that's perfect, because nothing's perfect. Please don't let anybody on YouTube or the internet tell you that you need to be doing something a particular way for it to feel and for it to be exactly what it's meant to be, or, you know, rules. Break the rules. That's all I'm saying. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed it, got something out of it. If you didn't, I apologize. But yeah, we're gonna get out of here, man. We're gonna go do some shit. As always, man, you know the vibes. Let's get it.